Well, it is that time of year again. Got to start thinking about winter weather. It is in the state of West Virginia and Ohio this week, Winter Weather Awareness Week. And it's a good way for us to find ways to stay informed, prepare ahead of time, and also think of ways to take action during and after severe winter weather. So before we get into these two, got to be ways to stay informed, of course, through the Pinpoint Weather app. And of course, you're going to be seeing some terms such as what's a watch and what's a warning. So when a winter storm watch, well, they're usually issued between 12 and 72 hours in advance of a potential winter storm, and it really has to meet most warning criteria. So what are those criteria? For a winter storm warning, that's between 4 to 6 inches of snow in about 12 hours or 6 or more within 24 hours. And without both, you can also get about a ½ inch of sleet accumulation to warrant that winter storm warning. But others do include ice storm warnings, where you need that 1/4 inch or more of ice accumulation, blizzard warnings, where you need winds of about 35 miles per hour or more. And remember, both of those do not need snow. But over the coming couple of days, we'll talk more about how to stay safe during a winter storm and also freezing temperatures. Now, in my opinion, winter is a great season. That's because, well, the snow can be fun. However, still will create some tricky travel conditions, and snow's not the only precip that we see this time of year. We also have freezing rain and sleet, and that's when we start to mix in some of that warm air aloft. So we keep just a shallow layer of cold air towards the surface, well, then we'll create freezing rain. A shallow layer of warm air well aloft, then we get some of that sleet. And no matter the type of precip we get, you still got to be really careful on the roads. And that's because, well, bridges, there's no insulation below, so that allows for that cold air to rush, and, well, that bridge then freezes sooner than we do the actual road. So when you're traveling out this winter, even if our roads are perfectly fine with salt on it, be careful along the bridges. That's where we'll see those slippery conditions develop a lot sooner. And travel conditions, that's not one thing we're going to be talking about. Coming up tomorrow, we'll talk about wind chill. So yesterday we talked about the different types of winter precipitation and also why bridges tend to ice up sooner than regular roadways. Well, both of those still involve cold air, which brings us to our next hazard of winter weather, and that is wind chill. Now, usually our body has a warm layer of air emitting off of our bodies, and usually when we see temperatures, well, seeing at 20 degrees and no wind blowing on you, it might still feel warm if you're properly bundled up. However, once we start to involve some breezy conditions, say winds up to 20 miles per hour, then it starts to feel colder out there, even if you are bundled up with a heavy coat, gloves, scarves, even hats. When that cold air is blowing on you, that is just removing that layer of warm air. Now, still other winter weather hazards we still need to talk about, especially around the house, but we'll talk more about that coming up tomorrow. So throughout the week, we talked everything from different winter weather alerts, how snow and ice form with differing temperatures, and then even wind chills yesterday. But of course, gotta talk about some of those safety tips, and especially some obvious ones. So when outside during a winter storm, or especially when it's very cold outside, it's always important to dress for those conditions. Layers is always important to keep in mind. And then always make sure you're watching out for some of those icy areas, especially around your house. Now, with the warm weather we've been seeing, even though that's coming to an end going into Friday, you still have some time next week with the nice weather coming back in just to check the furnaces, check the chimneys, and even check on those monoxide detectors, because carbon monoxide can easily leak when we're trying to warm up our houses. So keep that in mind as well. And with your cars, Got to make sure you check on the battery, check on those tire pressure sensors, and then keep those jumper cables and a blanket with you in the car just in case you get stranded. And for the pets are very important. If you don't like being outside in the cold, they don't like that either. So make sure you at least bring them inside when it gets very freezing out there. And also the road salt, keep them away from their paws. But we'll talk some more about snow squalls coming up tomorrow. Well, it is the end of Winter Weather Awareness Week, so saving, in my opinion, the most interesting for last, but also the most dangerous when you're on the roads, and that is snow squalls. So what is a snow squall? Well, that's when we get that sudden burst of heavy snow over a short period of time, but also some breezy conditions that will bring whiteout conditions. So when you have that combined with very cold roads, you'll get those slippery conditions, and when you can't see, that is very, very hazardous. So that's why the National Weather Service does have snow squall warnings for us. So that's when we have visibility under a quarter of a mile and those cold roads creating those slippery conditions, and in some situations can even push out an emergency alert, just like severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings, to advise you that, well, we're looking at those hazardous conditions moving in. So if you are hitting the roads, to take it slow and maybe find a place to pull off just for a little bit. Now, that's the end of Winter Weather Awareness Week for us. If you miss any of these segments, you can go back online to WTAP.com to catch our previous days.